Welcome back to Humble Pie. I'm your host, Jimmy D. Today I got a special one for you. We've got 2 test decks, 2 things we built, proxying it up, getting ready for the Nationals tournament. Some decks that I think are going to be extremely strong and powerful if people learn how to play these decks right. It's one of these things where we only have 2, maybe 3 weeks of testing with the actual cards themselves prior to the Nationals. It's going to be happening this February 14th in Vegas during Valentine's Day, yes, or Singles Awareness Day as I like to call it. But we get a great day of the tournament expansion. Myself and a couple of my other Humbros are qualified for the Union Arena side. We're going to be participating there, seeing if we can get the top spot. I didn't see anything about a Worlds invite on there. I don't know if that was a mistype, a miscommunication, or if this year they're just not going to send anybody to Worlds. I know last year we thought they'd sent somebody to Worlds, but after watching the Worlds competition, all the top decks were decks that we didn't even have access to. So given that we didn't have access to those decks, I'm assuming, I can't imagine they sent some people in America with the access to, I think, like 4 or 5 decks at the time, and saying, okay, those guys are going to be playing up against these other brand new, power crept, consistency crept, amazingly powerful decks, and it's gonna be fair all around. It's like, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. So I didn't see any American representation out there, and I wouldn't even if it was that magical thing that they're like, okay, cool, we're going to Nats, guys. You guys can play with the 4 sets that are out there released, and you're going to play against these decks of cards you've never seen before and effects you've never seen before, and you're just going to have to believe your opponent when they say that the card does what it does. Because if you would have sent me to that event and said, this thing KOs 3 cards and allows me to draw 4 cards, I'd been like, wow, that's pretty strong. I wish I had access to that. I would have believed you. I don't know. There's so many different things that we're trying to make sense out of. We even stayed up all night long to watch the actual Nats for One Piece and for the Union Arena, and they asked us to do some coverage, but I looked at those cards and was like, I'm not going live with that. I can't make heads or tails of it. I'm hoping that changes this year. I'm hoping that the winner, or at least the 1 and 2 seed, are going to get a chance to go out to Worlds in March and participate and represent America for the Union Arena. I know there's going to be a lot of people for OPTCG. Good luck to those individuals that might have qualified. I got a couple of Humbros that are participating in that one as well, and I hope that they do pretty well and get themselves that awesome invite and get the notoriety. Jubby, I'm looking at you, bud. Kick butt, kick, and just go all the way. I'm hoping you get there. Jay Wubby, if you haven't seen him, go check him out on social media. Most of the stuff I follow from him is from X, but I digress. The point of today's video, we're going to get into 2 test decks, and this is something that major competitors will often do. They'll get these decks, they'll proxy them out, and test them out to see how they play. There's 2 reasons for it. 1, if this deck overperforms and does really well and it just fits your play style, this might be the deck that I'm just going to put together and immediately run over to Nationals with, having the most amount of practice amongst my peers, and the idea of what this does against the current meta. So of course I'm going to be playing these things against Rurouni Kenshin that I expect to see, and some other decks that I expect to see at this main event. But I also want to know what this deck does. So if anybody decides to bring this deck against me, and I feel that it's not up to snuff with the current capabilities or the consistency I'm seeing from other decks out there, then I'm going to at least know how to play against this deck, know what are my ins and outs, what are the 2nd to 3rd tier level of your game capability, what I need to be able to do to win these games. So again, if you guys join my Patreon, I do have some videos coming soon that are going to be the 3-tiered system of how you play TCGs overall. It's going to be a breakdown of like the 3 different tiers, the basics, in the intermediate, and into the advanced section, where those players in the advanced section often have a slight advantage in major tournaments. It doesn't guarantee you wins, but you'll get more wins in that advantage tier than you will losses, and you get yourself in that above 50th percentile, which is essentially honestly where you want to be when you're playing TCGs. You don't want to be at 100%. That means you're cheating, hands down. There's too much variance in all these card games. You can't win every single game. I don't care how good you are or how good your deck is. If you're 100%, you're cheating. It's just statistically anomaly. There's no way you're not having games where you just couldn't play anything, couldn't do anything right, or you just played against a bad matchup, or even just made maybe a couple play mistakes. Because even in the top tier, you can still make those critical play mistakes and think about them later. It happens. It happens to the best of the best out there. But if you can get to that top tier, this is where you are truly understanding what your opponent can do, what are the cards available to them that they can do to you, how you can protect yourself the best, play around some of those cards, and make the best educated response to what you expect your opponent to do in a certain time to kind of make sure that you can leverage yourself as a victor in most of those games. Luckily for us, it's going to be best 2 out of 3, so I'm going to have some chances to recover if I take an early game loss or a non-bow game. And I really appreciate that Union Arena is moving into the best 2 out of 3, because I've been saying for a while, given that there is that potential for a non-bow game, that they're just nothing happening. Your opponent couldn't play any cards. You just push the characters up, you hit, and kill them to 7 life out there, and you win. Not much of a game. And it happens. And sometimes, not to the direct point, but you only get 1 mulligan. You only get to look at the top 14 cards of your deck. If you can't play those top 14 cards in the stacks of 2 7s, the game doesn't happen, and you just end up losing the game. We saw this in the actual finals in Dallas, where the finalists, both undefeated going into the championship. Unfortunately, the Torshiro player did not draw a playable hand, and after the mulligan, did not have a playable hand. So he really didn't even play the finals, and that best of 1 made it kind of anticlimactic at the end here. So this being a nice best 2 out of 3 and a high level of competition makes sense. You want to keep it best of 1 in the locals? Sure. Guys, some people just want to play for fun and have a good time. That's all right. But when you get to the high level competition, the more games you can play, the more likely you're playing against the best of the best, the best decks, and you're really showcasing the true capabilities of some of these decks. So we can really make a determination in Union Arena, what is the best deck? Because as you would ask me, if anything is in the top 10, they're all the best deck. If they're in there and they're qualifying, they're topping, they're the best deck. Depending on who's piloting, what's doing it, it all doesn't matter, because there's so many different counters and ways you can play against it. And the format, and I think hopefully it stays this way, will always be diverse, and people always have other options, and there will be things to beat against it in the different types of decks. I digress. Let's get into the actual deck lists. These are proxy deck lists. So for this video, you're going to have to want to pay attention to the cards I'm reading to you, because those cards are going to be what you're going to see happen. But they don't have the pictures on it. The song deck does have the pictures, but even the song deck, it's really difficult to see what those cards do. So pay attention as I walk through and I highlight each one of these cards, and eventually, hopefully in the next coming year, I'll be monetized and I'll be able to make some money doing this, and I'll actually have more time to dedicate to honing my editing skills and flash those cards up on the screen so you guys can see it every single time a new card's played. I'd love to see that out there for you, and I'd also like to do some commentary on top of it to help you guys see, ooh, this was a misplay, ooh, this was that. But unfortunately, given that I do run a host of Bondi games, and I play and run basically run all the games and events at LifeLink Games, along with being their social media manager, I don't really have any time for anything else than what I'm providing for you right now. So, and that's all unpaid, by the way. This is just a great deal that I have with him, where he allows me to come up with really cool creative events, run some organizations, and get this content out to you. And my money is being made on this, which currently is absolutely nothing. But in my opinion, it's a great deal, because it means that I have to dedicate my heart and soul into this content while he does the business side. And I appreciate that. We have a great working relationship, me and LifeLink. And I am so thankful that we have the studio, we have the capability, we've got all the tools available to bring you guys the best of certain card games that we happen to host at LifeLink Games. Let's get into the deck list. Alright, starting off with the red Trauma Bonding. I tried to put this in T-Bonding in the title because I didn't want YouTube to take me down for trauma. But the Trauma Bonding is the name of this card from Asia. I picked this deck list up as one of, on paper, what I think is the strongest red. Now, this is just on paper, and I'll explain to you why I think this is one of the strongest decks on here. I don't know. There's 3 different decks out here. If you ask anybody, they're like, there's 4 or 5 good decks from Evangelion. It's like, well, that doesn't really narrow it down. And I mean, I guess the purple one's been performing the best, and we will have that deck built here soon. I got the thing proxied, and we're making that right now. But the purple Evangelion deck apparently is the one that's performed slightly better than the rest. But these are all considerably strong decks, even today in the current meta that is the Asian meta. Starting off with a 0 cost, this one I really like. This is in most decks today. It's got the ability where you can rest it, and you sideline it after the main phase, and you get double AP or additional AP on the bottom right-hand corner for this turn. What makes this one great, one, it's a raid target, because this deck only really plays raids and Shinjis. So it is a raid target, and there is a 4 cost that you can raid on top of this, which means you can have a very explosive start. Code Geass was known for doing this in the very beginning, back in the day. They'd have CC, would rest, and it would give you the double AP. You'd get out the Gwaine raid on top of that CC to make sure that you didn't lose a CC, and that way you're not losing card advantage or energy generation later. Like, you want to have some way of making sure that you can not waste these cards. You don't want these cards in the background just kind of sacrifice themselves if you're not really finishing the game or really advancing the board state. And losing an entire whole energy generation just for this one turn can be a danger. But in decks like this, honestly, it fits really well. I don't like that it doesn't have a trigger, but that is me, because I like to have my things at least at 8 or less non-triggers in my decks. But this one is a must keep in this deck, and of course you need it because it's a 0 cost, and in this deck you need a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3 of the Ray to ensure that you get the maximum benefit from the 7 cost Saikumo unit that we'll go over later. Next, Shinji, another little raid target, and of course with trigger. And note, there's no third 0 cost here. So when you're looking at the numbers down here below, it says 73 and 93. It's not actually accurate. It's trying to tell you, man, you don't have enough 0 costs to play this deck. You got to have at least 12. That's been the basic math for all deck construction. You got to have 12. Well, they kind of fixed it with this, in what I'm calling the it's consistency creep. You have this amazing ability that was introduced in Rurouni Kenshin, where you, if you don't have anything out, you can play this card for 0 cost as your first card for the turn. And on play, you get to look at your top of your deck and place it on top of your deck or into your sideline. That's great. It's like, this is what they call in Magic the Gathering surveil. And when you surveil, you just put it in your trash and or your graveyard or whatever you want to call it, and you basically would make sure that the next card is a card that you're really looking for. Maybe you're enabling the engine. Maybe you're putting these rays into the sideline where you want them, so you can eventually come up to this massive play with the 7 cost and get that amazing ability. Okay. With enough of these 4 costs here, I think the consistency numbers are much higher than what's being represented, because the calculation goes into the total cost of the card, and it doesn't recognize that this 2 cost is actually a 0 cost with an amazing upside where you get to basically surveil and scry. So your hand's almost doo-doo and you can't do anything with it. Well, here's a way to fix it, and here's a way to make sure you get out of the grind. And with that, this deck's going to be a little more consistent than other decks out there that might not have access to the draw discard type of cards, or cards that need to see the 1, 2, 3 energy, or the energy required cards to build that perfect card to build your back line up for those more explosive turns in the later game. Very, very strong card. I like it. We also have the 1 cost for Ray. This one on play, you get to look at the top 3 cards, get to put 1 in your sideline, you get to put the 2 back on top. So again, you're fixing your hand, you're fixing this. You're not drawing it like you would with a blue deck, but at least you're kind of stacking the deck in your favor to see the cards that you might need at the appropriate time. I really enjoy cards like this that really aid the consistency, and most of the time when you're seeing these opening cards where the 1 cost will make you look at the top of the cards and grab something and bottom the deck. This one, it really, if you have like maybe the removal you don't want to bottom deck, or the final triggers you might not want to bottom deck, this will give you the option to keep some of those good cards on top of your deck. So in my opinion, it's a lot stronger than some of the other 1 costs with similar effects, and it has a nice little trigger for draw card. We have the 2 cost here with Impact Negate, and of course this one similar to the 2 cost with the double pip that you'll often see, but this one with a 3000 power, and all it requires is 2 different cost rays in the sideline, and it can produce an additional energy during your turn. This is once per turn, so you've got access to a 2 cost double energy. Very, very strong. This is usually some of the best you can get. A lot of people like to play with those, and the other 2 costs that produce additional AP if it's active. This is that replacement here. You have 4 of that. It's non-trigger, just like the other one I just mentioned, where if this is active, then it produces 2. And then this deck particularly, you can't afford to play a card like that, and I'll explain why later with some of the raid cards. But really good to get the double pips. This one is a high energy required deck. It goes all the way up to 7, meaning you're going to need to lean more on making sure you do see these double pips, and you're going to have to value these double pips a lot more than you would in other decks. This 3 cost up here lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place any number among them on top of your deck, and then the rest of the sideline. So again, you get to dig 2 cards deeper, get the consistency, put the cards you want. It's also double pip, very, very strong. Arguably one of the strongest cards in the deck, the Shinji here. This one, 2 AP, no, wait. If it's in the sideline, and I have a lot of things that can put in the sideline, if you will, I can discard 2 cards and pay 1 AP, and I can put this thing out in the field. And when it hits the field, I can actually have this move, kind of like Toto does, right? Or the Baku. There was cards, I love cards like this, where you can put these double pips in the front line, swap them in the back line, push something forward that you may have needed in the energy line to play this card, but definitely wanted to push during the movement phase, but couldn't because you needed the energy generation to push forward. And now you've got an additional attacker or something that can really set up some go wide board states. Not to mention, it's just really resilient in your sideline area. You could do this anytime you have the cards. 2 cards from hand does seem like a huge detriment, But as we'll see when we get into these raids, those 2 cards get easily replaced with a lot of the draw power that you see in the top end. Next, the 4 cost, the one I was telling you I really love. Double block with 4K. Always good to have at least a 4K stats with a double block. I've never been a fan of double block with 35 or less. It's only a good side deck card if you're playing against certain rush decks. But in this current meta, double block with 4K BP, very, very strong. And on retire, this one allows you to draw 2 cards. Like I said, you're going to get those cards back after you discard, because this one on retire gets to allow you to draw 2. And then you can play a Ray that might have been underneath this card, a 0/1 cost, and put it back into the field resting. So even when you lose this thing, if they remove it with a special, if they KO this somehow with a block that you're desperate to, you're going to be able to draw 2 cards and immediately build your energy line back up with one of these 2 Rays that you see here. And on play, of course, this one will let you scry so you can dig deeper, or surveil, if you will. And this one will give you some more energy if you need to play something a little bit stronger, like this 5 cost that comes out with impact. 4,000 power. This one has a really unique ability where it really depends on your line, and this is why I was telling you that 2 cost that has to be readied to produce 2 pips, it won't work in this deck, because this card requires you to rest all of your sideline, or your energy producers, and when you rest all of them, if you can rest up to 4 energy, this card becomes a 7k attacker. If you can rest up to 8 energy, it gets damage 2. So now you have that really impeccable impact 1 damage 2, which really puts the question to your opponent. Most times damage 2, you're probably going to block because you want to block and you just want to make sure you don't take those 2 damage. And if it's early game, maybe whatever. But late game, definitely you're going to want to block it, which makes this a nice piece of removal. With impact, it guarantees even if they do block it, they're going to still take 1 point of damage. So it's not a great option for your opponent. So that they're going to be left with. And these usually make for very strong cards. I love the 5k ones they introduced at the very beginning of the game, where it was choose one or the other. Very strong cards in the game. Always powerful ability, and something to watch out. If you can give it both, make your opponent make some difficult decisions, you're often going to be taking the tempo in your favor. Now we go to the higher end. I do like that these are 2 and 2, because I don't like too many of these top end cards here in your deck. You don't want to play too many of these things when you require so much energy to play them. They're strong abilities though. You have, this is another 2 bodies that allow you for anything removal. Activate main. If at the front line, you can sideline this card. If you do, you get to sideline any other character in your opponent's front line. And during your turn, you get to reduce the energy cost of a Shinji or Unit 01 type card from your hand by 1. While doing so, you also draw 2 cards. So you reduce the cost of this Unit 01 if you need to for that sack. You get rid of any of the threats that your opponent may have that you don't want to face, or at least open up a spot for this thing to get some massive swings in, because this character, when played, is likely going to get at least 2 attacks, if not 3, if you played it up correctly. So on this one on play, it has, if you have 0 cards underneath it, it has impact 3. What does that mean? Don't block this card. If you block the card, you're taking 3 damage. If you don't block the card, you just take 1. So if you see this card out and they're swinging, just don't block it if you can afford to. If this is late game, that's your guaranteed win. This is your win con. It's like, okay, you could block, or you just die, or I kill you when I swing at you. But if you have 4 more cards, and how do you get 4 cards underneath it? The on play allows you to grab 1 each of the rays that we're talking about: the 0 cost, the 1 cost, the 2 cost, and the 3 cost. You can put 1 of each underneath this. If you have 4 or more underneath it, you can take 2 of those cards, add them to your hand, so you have them to replay, and then you get to restand this character and attack yet again. So you're getting 2 attacks. If you magically have 6 cards underneath it, you can attack 3 times with this card, because every time that you do attack, you reveal the 2 cards. If you add 2 cards to your hand, you can restand this character and attack again. It is a great finisher. Very powerful. On paper, looks phenomenal. 7 costs in red, not a fan. Not a fan. Of course, you're going to need final triggers, which red most of the time does not need final triggers, because they're usually in color tandem. They're pretty rush savvy decks that go low to the ground. So these restanded APs and final triggers are often like 1 or 2, if at all, in certain decks, because it's really just about emptying your hand as it is, and you don't really need to extend your turns on low to the ground decks. We have this special, one of my personal favorites from here. 4 cost, does everything that you see from normal 4 cost. Requires a specific character out there. If he's out there, you can kill a 5k or less. If you don't have him, it's 3k or less. Nice. I like 4k removal like this. Of course, you want to be playing maximum of 4. This one plays with the 6 cost as a 2 of, and this one kind of enables you with that ability we're talking about, where you put a unit underneath the Shinji to help you have a raid underneath it, so you have cards to return to your hand if you raid on top of it. And it yes, it'll KO a character 5,000 or less, but 6 cost for this. I've never liked removal that has that kind of cost savvy, because sometimes your opponent rushes down with their best card. You need to get rid of it early game, which is why I've never been a fan of 6 cost removal. But the effect is okay. I wouldn't say it's backbreakingly awesome, but it's okay. And finally, we have the site for this one. This one on play, you get to look at the top 5 cards, add a unit 00, unit 1, or 01, if you will. Add to your hand and place the remaining to the bottom of your deck in any order. And of course, on main, you get to rest. You can, once per turn, you can choose a card on your energy line and switch to active. So this really site kind of powers up this to make sure that if you have the energy in the back row, sorry, this one, energy in the back row, you can restand it and then rest it to get one of these abilities to get that damage too. This is really where the deck wants to be, is sitting in the 5 cost here and really start hammering down as much as it possibly can. That is Trauma Binding. Now let's get into the Song deck. Now, we're talking in our Discord about which one of these decks from SAO we think are going to be the strongest. It's Sword Art Online. This is a Survivor, the SAO Survivor deck, or Song deck, because most of the deck's cards really play on having a Song card or having played a Song card in order to really go off. In my opinion, this is probably one of the more consistent out of SAO. I really like this deck. One, it doesn't rely heavy on raids, which Sword Art Online is notoriously relied a lot on raids. I'm not a big fan of having too many raids in your deck. Remember, when you raid, you're raiding on top of a card that you no longer will have energy access to, you'll no longer have the ability access to, or the body. While it does come in readied, so you have an immediate attack, so it helps with rush, what it doesn't do, when you lose it, you lose 2 cards versus 1. And you gotta look at mathematically and board presence. You really want to make sure you have a full board that you can constantly keep throwing the threat against your opponent if you need to play the attrition war against that deck. So I like this deck mostly because it's only got 2 raids in it, and it is extremely consistent based on how long you can extend these turns. They're absolutely insane with some of these abilities. The SAO Survivor starts off with Yuna, which is the only raid that you'll see in this deck. So the 0 cost, obviously, and a trigger, good, take that. You got Agile, which is just a nice little draw trigger for the 0 cost, and you have Climb. On Retire, place up to 2 cards from the top of your deck into your sideline area. So it kind of helps with getting those, potentially get those you know, the Song cards in your trash if you need to. But what's nice about it is it does have a decent ability in the 0 cost. You want that 12, basic build, nothing new here. Moving into the 1 cost on play, you get to look at the top cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Song type card, add it to your hand, and then place the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order. And if you add a card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand into the outside area. It's a nice little draw discard. Essential for 1. I like this. I would prefer this one at 4 personally, but I think there's enough unit raids here. I love having access to 1s to make sure that your hand has a higher percentage of making sure you're mulliganing well. 98 being very strong to make sure the consistency is high for this one, and that's another reason why I like this deck. Another one for the 2 cost on play. Look at the top 2 cards. Place one in any number of those cards, excuse me, among them into your deck and on top of your deck in any order, and place the remaining into your sideline. So you can put the songs into your sideline if you want to. More scrying, good 3k body. No trigger, sadly, but still very good. And this is another reason why I would probably prefer 4 here versus 2 here. And this person's deck construction, mostly because I'm gonna look for the songs, sure. And yes, I may have to bottom some of the other cards I don't want to, but I'm gonna at least have a trigger on here and not have to risk the non-trigger. This is one of those that needs to be ready to get double pips, if you will. The 2 energy generation, so obviously it's gonna be added because most decks do. You have the unit raid here on play. Up to 1 of your Song trait cards from your outside area to your hand, so you get to replay all those songs that you might have trashed earlier to make sure that you can play those songs, because when you do play those songs, there's certain cards in this deck that actually benefit from you playing songs. Like this one, main, Restless card. You can only activate this ability if you use a Song type card this turn. All Yuna and SAO Survivor type characters gain plus 1000 BP this turn. So, Restless card, pump up the rest of the line, an additional 1000 for all those SAOs. Pretty strong. We've already seen the 3Ks that can become 4Ks. This Yuna really a fitting apropos for the show, if you will, showing a lot of support and kind of benefiting the rest of the team. Like this one, SAO Survivor, that can be a 4K. On play, double pip. You're going to have this at the back line, but it does have an ability. If you played a Song this turn, you get to draw a card. So very strong to keep drawing through. You get another Una raid on play. During your turn, reduce the AP cost of all your song cards from your hand by 1, and that's it means you can basically play it by play it for free. When you look at these, main once per turn, place 4 cards from the outside area into the bottom of your deck in any order. This is from your sideline to the bottom of your deck. If you do, choose an SAO survivor character and gains double damage. Pretty strong with this one. I like this. It can give any of the other cards double damage. It's a nice 4K body and really pumps up one of the arguably weaker characters in the deck would be Una, at least stat-wise. Another SAO survivor that I'd love to pump up here during your turn if you play a song. This card gets impact. No raid for this Asuna, so you got a 4K body, easy to get out, and you can give it impact every single turn so long as you keep cycling the song. And the powerhouse of the deck, if you ask me, this one really is what making this very strong in this new meta, because it's giving you access to another 4 removal. And most decks, if you have 8 removal, you're really in the tier 1 proposal area here. I will say, however, you're going to want to see this one other than your other special, and we'll go into why in just a minute. This one has impact negate at 4,000 ability power. It also has the color trigger, but on play, if you use a song during this turn, you may pay 1 AP, and if you do, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line with 2,000 less AP, and then you can place 5 cards from your outside area to the bottom of your deck, and if you do, it's 5,000 or less. So it's a special on a unit that requires 5 in the trash, which is not hard to do with this deck, and you can basically remove anything. Nice little color trigger from life to it really good ability at getting that impact negate, but also removal on a stick pretty strong. The only downside I'd say is this is the special you want in life only, in my personal opinion. I know there's things you can do with this. I am not a fan of specials that don't remove from hand, that don't auto get rid of things. I've never been a fan of these specials that do neat things, but in reality you just want to have this in life so it does the removal thing you want. This one, you add up to 1 character card from your sideline area from your hand, play up to 1 SAO survivor card with AP cost of 1 from your hand, equal area to active. Sure, you get a character for free to active from your trash. Pretty strong. Then that character this character cannot be chosen by your opponent's character effects until the end of your next turn. Okay, it's a Monster Reborn. It's a Reanimate. It's I forget in One Piece there's some cards that bring things back from the trash. It's your Gecko Moria, if you will. It's cool. It brings a character back into active. It doesn't kill anything. So if anything, I really want this one in my life. I want that special trigger to trigger and KO one of my opponent's frontline characters. It's not a terrible card. It is a song. It enables the rest of the stuff that you want to do. And you can search for this removal, which is really funny because most decks you can't search for removal. But I think the only reason you can is because it's not technically removal. It's just get a character back. But still very strong. It means you have 8 pieces of removal access if these 4 are in your life and the other 4 are in your hand or drawn. You have access to 8 pieces of removal to make sure you can deal with threats as they may come. Longing, draw 2 cards and place 2 cards from your hand to your sideline. And if there's a Una in your area, choose one of your APs and set it to active. So this one essentially just says, draw 2, discard 2. And it doesn't cost anything, and I've activated a song. So it really didn't even ruin anything my turn. Just got me consistency up. Bath is your restand 2, your final trigger. And the ubiquitous DB song card. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 card among them, add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. If the revealed cards is a song card other than ubiquitous DB, Una, choose one of your AP cards and set it as active. Another card that allows you to play it, restand, get the abilities of all the song cards that are all the cards that require you to have them playing a song card, and play the game. Very good deck, very strong. We're going to get a best of 1 with me and Lotus playing against this deck. Check it out. I can't wait to see how this plays out between the 2 of us. Really looking forward to seeing how these decks play out as we continue to practice and find out what decks we're going to be. I'm ever closer to finally picking a deck that I want to put out there and take to Nationals. I haven't chosen yet, but I do enjoy the opportunity to watch these games, play these games, and make a more educated decision on what deck I'm going to be bringing to Nationals. if you guys are going to be getting into sort of online, get ready this month, at the end of this month of January, we're going to be able to see these decks in their full glory, put these things together. And if you'd like this stuff, go check out my Patreon. I put all the deck lists, especially for the Asian ones, on Patreon. And if you want the English ones, check out my experts.dev account, Homebrew Pie. All my decks that I have, every single one that I've got built on hand, and some that I haven't had the time to even upload because honestly, I didn't feel like they were any good. I didn't think it was worth it. Do I have it built still? Yes. Do I want to play with it? Yeah, not really. But I have it. All right, I hope you guys enjoy this nice little lo-fi music, if you will, some royalty-free music as we watch this matchup again. If you were paying attention during the deck list, you'll be able to know what these decks do, which is going to be important. And if you go to my Patreon, maybe you have another window, you can hover over the cards and see what those cards do on the experts.dev account or over on Patreon. And you'll know what's happening on the board state. I know it's an extra measure, but right now, this is all I can afford to do. Thanks for being here. As always, stay home, bro.
if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. The computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top. Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
And that's going to do it for this round. If you've been here this long, hit the like and subscribe button. Help us out. We're a growing channel and just trying to get out as many TCGs and coverage for you guys at home. Brought to you mostly by the people you're seeing scroll over here, my Patreons. The ones that help me fund and do everything I can to try to expand this channel to cover multitudes of different TCGs that you are seeing here. You like the one you're watching now? That's great. We also have other things that you might like, from a broad spectrum of the Bondi to the new League of Legends, Riftbound games, and other independents like Alpha Clash. We like to cover as many games here, and I love all these TCGs. Most of the time I take part in. If you guys are liking this content, though, please help us grow, help us get into the point where we can improve our quality of content for you, and get to the point where you guys really get the product that you deserve. Thank you for being here, as always. This is going to be it for today. I hope to see you in the next video. That might be listed up here. I don't know, editor, can you help me out?